15 Celebs linked to high-profile murder cases. Part 1.
If you are brand new to our channel, we invite you to take a moment to subscribe. Just click on the lit red button as well as the gray bell. Why the bell? Well, it will let you know every time we post a new video.
1. Woody Harrelson. In 1968, Woody Harrelson's father left his childhood home and was not heard from again until years later, when Woody was riding home in a car that would pick him up from school. On the radio, they were discussing the trial of Charles V. Harrelson for the murder of a judge. The judge was John H. Wood Jr., set to preside over the case of drug dealer Jamil Chagra, and Charles V. Harrelson was the accused contract killer who shot Judge Wood in a parking lot outside of his home. Harrelson had been on parole for less of a year, just completing a 5-year term for the murder for hire of Sam DeGilia, a grain dealer from Texas. Charles Harrelson was convicted and sentenced to 2 life sentences. After that, Harrelson reconnected with his father, and would visit him from time to time in prison, even trying to secure a retrial, when Chagra recanted his statements about Harrelson's involvement in the murder. 2. Jennifer Hudson. In 2008, singer Jennifer Hudson was in the news for all the worst reasons. 3 members of her family, her mother, Darnell Donnerson, her brother, Jason, and her 7-year-old nephew Julian King, were all shot and killed by Hudson's brother-in-law, William Balfour, left, her sister Julia's estranged husband. Hudson's mother and brother were found dead in the home that they shared with Julia, while the nephew, Julian, was reported missing, and not found for 3 days. In the search for Julian, police issued an Amber Alert and the process was widely publicized. They finally found his dead body on Chicago's West Side. Balfour, the man behind the killings, was convicted in 2012 and sentenced to 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. 3. Matthew Broderick. In 1987, following the filming of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Matthew Broderick and Jennifer Grey, his sister in the film, had begun dating, and were driving through the countryside in Northern Ireland. Broderick, for whatever reason, drove into oncoming traffic and hit another car head-on, killing the mother and daughter occupants of the other vehicle. Broderick suffered some breaks and a collapsed lung, whereas Grey escaped with minor injuries. After the accident, Broderick said, "I don't remember the day. I don't remember even getting up in the morning. I don't remember making my bed. What I first remember is waking up in the hospital with a very strange feeling going on in my leg." Initially, the famed actor faced jail time of up to 5 years and charges of causing death by dangerous driving, but was let go with a careless driving charge and a fine of less than $200. Keep this in mind next time you see that Honda commercial starring Broderick, maybe the worst possible spokesperson for a car company. 4. Fatty Arbuckle. Early in the 20th century, Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle was one of the most popular actors in Hollywood. He mentored Charlie Chaplin, discovered Bob Hope and Buster Keaton, and was involved in one of the most publicized court cases of the time. Well, he was in 3 of the most publicized court cases of the time. The cases all revolved around the death and the RP of actress Virginia Rapp. After a party at a hotel that Arbuckle had rented 3 rooms in, Rapp became very ill and was observed by the hotel doctor for alcohol poisoning. Rapp also suffered from chronic cystitis, which was made worse with alcohol. She was also known to get super wasted at parties too, so this was nothing new, except that Rapp's friend had another story. 2 days after the party, Rapp was admitted to the hospital, and it was there that Rapp's friend, Bambina Delmont, accused Arbuckle of raping Rapp. There were claims of Arbuckle using a piece of ice to simulate sex, which escalated in the papers to bottles of different sorts. When Rapp died in hospital of peritonitis, following a ruptured bladder, Arbuckle was accused of causing her death. a result of his large body crushing hers during the RP. After 2 hung juries and 1 acquittal, Arbuckle was apologized to, but the damage was already done. His acting career would never recover, and his reputation was forever tarnished. 5. Kelsey Grammer. In 1975, Freddie Glenn and Michael Corbett began a killing spree that would result in the deaths of 5 people. Glenn was found guilty of murdering 3. On July 1st of that year, Glenn, Corbett, and 1 other man entered a Red Lobster with the intention of robbing it. Though they didn't make off with much money, they kidnapped an 18-year-old girl who worked there. Her name was Karen Grammer, Kelsey Grammer's younger sister. The men took Grammer back to their apartment and raped her for 4 hours. After that, they drove her to a trailer park, promising to let her go. With a cloth over her head, the men abandoned the vehicle, but, before Glenn exited the car, he decided to stab her in the back, the hand and the neck. Karen would attempt to ring a nearby doorbell, but she died before she could get to it. In 1976, Glenn was convicted and sentenced to the gas chamber, though that was overturned 2 years later, when the Colorado Supreme Court eliminated the state's death penalty. Glenn was recently denied parole in 2014. 6. Robert Blake. Following a dinner with his wife, Bonnie Lee Beckley, in 2001, longtime actor Robert Blake and Beckley returned to their vehicle, which was parked around on a dark side street. After getting into the car, Blake reportedly went back to the restaurant to retrieve a revolver that he had left there. When he returned to the vehicle, Beckley was dead from a gunshot wound to the head. In 2002, Blake was arrested and charged with the murder of Beckley, and started a very strange and very public court case. 2 different stuntmen that had worked with Blake had come forward and stated that Blake had asked them to kill his wife, but they had turned him down. They couldn't find the shooter or the murder weapon. After about 1 year in jail, Blake was released, and the courts admitted that it could not find definitive proof that he was involved in the murder. 7. Snoop Dogg. In 1993, when Snoop Dogg, Calvin Broderick, was at the height of his fame, he got involved in a dispute that ended in the death of a 20-year-old named Philip Wildemariam. The story goes that there was an argument outside of Snoop Dogg's home, which his bodyguard, McKinley Lee, went out to investigate. Nothing happened, but he saw a car full of gang members and recognized Wildemariam as one of them. Later, while driving past a park, Broderick and Lee saw Wildemariam again, and this is where the accounts differ. The prosecutors claimed that Wildemariam was hunted down by Lee and Snoop Dogg and shot in the back, while the defense suggests that Wildemariam had run at the Jeep and was reaching for a gun when they shot him. Technically both accounts could be true, because of the lateral bullet wounds on the body. The big piece was that the gun that Wildemariam was said to have been reaching for was missing when he was found dead. The trial would go on for 3 years until Snoop Dogg and Lee were acquitted and found not guilty. It also helped to up Snoop Dogg's street cred. A win-win. 8. Bill Paxton. One of the most famous murders ever committed happened on November 22, 1963, and actor Bill Paxton was a witness, and there are pictures to prove it. The day that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, Paxton was in the crowd and saw it all go down. Is he a magical time traveler? No, he was 8 years old at the time. Silly. Paxton always knew that there was a chance that his picture would be in rare records, but he was never able to prove it until he found the Roy Cooper footage, a cameraman for KTVT-TV who took a video of the president's speech earlier in the day. There, sitting on another person's shoulder, is a young boy peering over the crowd. That little boy is none other than Bill Paxton.